Alright, peace, brothers and sisters. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, giving honor and praise to the God of Yashua Hamasheeyahk. Giving double honors to 7130 South Chicago that taught me this truth. And giving double honors to all the brothers and sisters that the Creator has awoken in these last days. With that being said, peace and shalom. Alright, brothers and sisters, we're going to go into a lesson. We're going to entitle this The Life and Times of Yashua Hamasheeyahk and the Wicked Hands of the Fourth Beast, right? It's because, these lessons that I'm going to be doing is geared towards, opening the mindset of my people to show them that a lot of things that's dealing with the Messiah is basically smoke and mirrors, brothers and sisters. And a lot of this stuff is put into our history on purpose, right? So the first thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking into the 1611 King James Bible, right? And we're going to be bringing out a lot of things that is basically untrue that's dealing with our history. Because before we can start reading the book of Matthew and things of this nature, we first have to start from the very beginning, which is, this is the introduction stage of the lesson of the life and times of the Mashiach, right? Okay, so first thing that we're going to do is we're going to be looking into, quote unquote, the 1611 King James Bible, right? So first thing we're going to do is we're going to open it up and we're going to be looking into, right, King James Bible, right? Because it's up to us now to start to dispel a lot of the untruths that's in the history, see? And to tell the true story of the Messiah on how it should be told. Because no longer are we going to continue to be listening to the Christian church and a lot of the people that is basically telling our saga and our story from a religious standpoint of view, right? So the first thing that we want to start looking at, right, we want to start zeroing in, because this is what you would call Old English. This is Old English, right? So the first thing that we want to look at, take a look at, and quote unquote the 1611 King James Bible, which a lot of us rant and rave over, right? But a lot of times we don't know how to come in and come out of the 1611 and to properly break down what is being said by the Creator, right? So let's look at something. Now, this is Old English, right? This is Old English. So it says to find Easter forever. Now, the inquiring minds will want to know, why would the translators of the 1611 King James Bible will put the word Easter in the Bible? Now, most Christians will make the statement, they will say, well, that's a translation of the word Passover. But we got to understand, brothers and sisters, is that if you look, and I can read Hebrew for myself, if you look at the word Passover, well, actually, it's not even going to say Passover. It's going to say Pesach. You can write the word Pesach, brothers and sisters, in English. So a light should go off in your head as to say, okay, if I can write Passover in English, why am I writing the word Easter? This is what people today, they just fail, especially the Christian church. They fail to understand what is being said to them. You know, when you're in school, right? When you're in school, the teacher says that when you're reading a book, you got to comprehend what is being said to you, right? And what I'm starting to figure out is that, and also that the teacher tells you, it says, look, you got to put your thinking cap on. You know, you remember when you was in grammar school, Head Start and stuff like that, first grade, the teacher, well, when she get ready to take a test, she would say, all right, class, we finna take the test now. Y'all been studying. I've been telling y'all to study all week, right? Now it's Friday. It's time to take this test. Now y'all supposed to be going to school. Going home, doing your homework, studying and stuff like that. Now it's time to take the test, y'all. Now the first thing that we're gonna do in the class, we got to put our thinking caps on. Now, she would demonstrate how she want us to put the thinking caps on, right? So everybody is doing this. Even the people that ain't been studying, they put their thinking caps on. And they know when they put that thinking cap on that they gonna fail the test. Is because why? They're not studying. See, they've been out playing all day. They've been at home watching cartoons. They ain't been doing no homework, ain't turned in no homework during the week. They ain't did nothing. But they too put on the thinking caps when the teacher told them to put the thinking cap on, because it's time to take a test. They praying to God that they pass this test, right? So when they take the test, only a few people is going to pass, right? It's because those people, they study. They played and did everything too, but they did what was important. They did what was important during the week. They would sit down, they would study they math, or they study they words, because you finna take a test. You're gonna take a spelling bee, right? A spelling test. You're gonna take your math test. Whatever test that she got you taking, you finna take it. And only a few people is going to pass the test, right? It's because they wasn't doing what was necessary. So why am I saying all that, right? I'm saying all this to say That's how it is in the world today. Most of us that pick up the Bible, we may know how to quote scriptures and all this type of stuff, but we're not really studying. A lot of us get a lot of our information from people that really don't even know the Bible themselves. And look, it doesn't matter if you profess to be a Hebrew Israelite or whatever. See, we don't take the time and study for ourselves to show ourselves approved. And this is why when we have all these big organizations and stuff like that, we still failing the people. It's because we're not really going into the scriptures and dissecting what is being said by the Creator. And you know, this is a fact. I know that a lot of people is going to disagree with what I'm talking about. But when I get through with these lessons, and these lessons is going to be, they're going to be long, right? We're going to see who's really studying and who's not studying, brothers and sisters. So, as you can see on the screen, it says to find Easter forever. Now, like I was saying before, you can't translate the word Easter from the word Pesach or Passover, brothers and sisters. See, this is a clue that people don't study. If you ask a Christian to say that that's a translation from the word Passover. No, it's not, brothers and sisters. It's not a translation from the word Passover. Easter was put in the Bible on purpose. And I know for a lot of my Christian brothers and sisters, it's hard for you to understand. See, you believe that everything that the scholars and all these people have taught us throughout the years is right and exact. And let me hit you with something. No, it's not. All right, so let's look at something. We're going to be doing a lot of reading, right? So the first literature that we want to read from is the Young's Bible Dictionary. I guess they got it from the Tinsdale desktop reference, right? So in Tinsdale, they were Christians, right? So it's written by G. Douglas Young, PhD, right? So let's look up the word Easter. But let me hit you with something. When I go into all this stuff, you still going to have some people, they're going to disagree with this. And it's right in your face. And you still going to disagree with it. Let's look at this. Easter, a pagan Teutonic goddess, right? Now, I wrote the meaning of the word Teutonic, right? Now let's look at this. The meaning of the word Teutonic, right? It says denoting the Germanic branch of the Indo-European language family, right? So when they start talking about in here, they start talking about a pagan Teutonic goddess. Do you understand that a lot of these folks, they were getting this, a lot of these pagan rituals and things of this nature from the modern day or the ancient Europeans of that time. See? So it says a pagan Teutonic goddess since the Council of Nicaea AD 325. So, like I said, brothers and sisters, when you start talking, when you start studying, brothers and sisters, you gotta put your thinking caps on. See? You gotta put your thinking caps on. And that's what's wrong with us today. We don't put our thinking caps on. This is why we have an issue. So in the Young's Bible Dictionary, it says what? A Teutonic goddess since the Council of Nicaea in AD 325. It says the church celebrates the resurrection of Jesus Christ on this day. Now, like I said before, you got to put your thinking caps on. It's because why are they celebrating the resurrection of Jesus Christ on this day? Why are they doing that? It's because the Christian era are the ones that brought in what you would call a false Christ, brothers and sisters. This is why you're doing this. It's because Easter goes back to the worship system of the Babylonian mystery system, brothers and sisters. This is why they're worshiping it on this day. Now check this out. It says there was no celebration of the resurrection in the New Testament. So if there was no celebration of the resurrection in the New Testament, then why are you celebrating it? It says, later, the Gentile Christians observed the day on Sunday, brothers and sisters. Why is the Gentile Christians doing this? We're going to go to a scripture in a minute. Because the nation of Israel say that the Sabbath is on the 7th day of the week. Now you got the Christians saying that what? It's on the first day of the week, which is what? Easter sunrise, right? While they say the Jewish believers connected it with, one second, Passover, is celebrated on the 14th of Nisan, following the council at Nicaea. Easter has been observed on the first Sunday, meaning that what? The first day of the week following the full moon after the vernal equinox, varying between March 22nd, April 25th. Reference Acts 12 and 4 means Passover, right? But I'm telling you, that don't mean Passover, brothers and sisters. That's not Passover. It's because Passover is on the 14th. It's supposed to be on the 14th day of the first month. Easter is never on the 14th day of the first month. And see, when they going back to March, during the month of March, what else are they celebrating? They celebrating what? Lent, brothers and sisters. So a lot of the Christians think that they're not celebrating Lent because, but they do. They do celebrate Lent. Let me rephrase that. They celebrate Lent, brothers and sisters. That's why they be in church doing preparing before what you would call Easter. What they be doing the spiritual fasting and all this type of stuff. That ain't nothing but Lent, y'all. Right? So another reference that I want to reference is this book by C.J. Coaster, Come Out of Her My People, right? So let's look at something in here. Let's look up Easter again. This is another reference. It says Easter, right? The word Easter in Acts 12:4 of the King James Version is a what? Mistranslation of the Greek Pasaka, right? Because, like I said, when you go back to school, when you're in Head Start, see, we gotta treat you like you in Head Start, brothers and sisters. And see, you know what? A lot of you is going to reject this is because, see, you're still under the influence of the adversary. You can't translate the word Easter from the word Pesach, brothers and sisters. Because to a lot of you Christians that talk about, quote unquote, what the Greeks say, the Greek translated this out of the Hebrew, brothers and sisters. So how you gonna take the word Pesach, which is the Hebrew word, and then they translated it, and then the Greek take the word Pesach and they use the word Pasaka, right? That's pretty much the same word. And then you go into the English, and then you come up with Easter. That don't even make any sense. That does not make any sense at all. This is what's showing you that the word Easter is a mistranslation. But see, I'm not even gonna say it's a mistranslation. They put it in there on purpose, brothers and sisters. Okay, let's look at this. All other translation has subsequently rendered it correctly as Passover. So why are they doing this? It's because they telling you that Passover or Pesach was what the nation of Israel was celebrating. They were not celebrating the celebration of Easter. They was not doing that. So why do you Christians keep celebrating Easter? It's because you're all Catholics. That's why you celebrate it. And I know a lot of you gonna get upset, but it is what it is. See, anytime that a Christian say that they celebrate Easter, I'm gonna start calling them Catholics. It's because that's what they are. You are a Catholic. You don't follow Abraham's God. It says the well-known Barnes note comments on this mistranslation and this single occurrence of the word Easter in the King James Version as follow. Now, I'm finna go get a new Bible too, right? It's called the Coverdale Bible, right? And in the Coverdale Bible, it has in the book of Ezekiel, I think it's the 21st chapter, it has Ezekiel celebrating Easter. See, this is the teaching of the devil, brothers and sisters. Because there was no word called Easter during the time of Ezekiel. They got Ezekiel celebrating Passover, but they take the word Passover out of the I think it's the 21st chapter of the book of Ezekiel, and they put the word Easter in there. Right? So it says in the King James Version as follows: there was never a more absurd or unhappy translation than this. Not only is the name Easter incorrect, but it says, but also the time of the feast, no one will ever think of keeping his own birthday every year on the same day of the week. If I was born on Sunday, I would not think of keeping my birthday on a Sunday every year. I will keep it according to the day of the yearly calendar, not according to the day of the week, right? This is exactly what happened when Easter Sunday was instituted by who? Constantine. This is why you celebrate Easter and Sunday, because of the Council of Nice, brothers. And we're going to go into that. It says, the Passover dispute between the Western Church and the more scripture adherent believers of the Near East was finally settled by Constantine. Council of Nicaea in 325, where it was decided that Easter was to be kept on Sunday, and on the same Sunday throughout it says, and on the same Sunday throughout the world, and that none should hereafter follow the blindness of the Jews. Prior to that, Polycarp, the disciple of the Apostle John, which I don't necessarily believe in that, but it says had learned from the apostle himself that the 14th Abib was the scriptorial day of the year, which had been legislated in the Old Testament to determine the onset of Passover, which our Savior kept the night that he was betrayed, right? Polycrates, I can't pronounce this word, and other contended for the correct calculation of Passover memorial supper and the events following it to be reckoned as beginning from the 14th of Abib, right? Now check this out. Now, with Constantine taking the lead, the Council of Nicaea decided to reject the scriptorial way of determining the correct day according to the yearly date in favor of Easter Sunday. So this is Constantine doing this, right? So it says, according to the day of the week, Constantine exhorted all bishops to embrace the practice which is observed at once in the city of Rome and in Africa, throughout Italy, and in Egypt. Another fragment records that Constantine urged all Christians to follow the custom of the ancient Church of Rome and Alexandria. And this is the same thing that King James and them was following. And we're going to go into some of his history too. See? It says the case of the yearly Easter Sunday was held in common with the case for the weekly Sunday, right? Origin wrote, the resurrection of the Master is celebrated not only once a year, but constantly every 8 days. Eusebius also stated, while the Jews, faithful to Moses, sacrificed the Passover lamb once a year, we men of the new covenant celebrate our Passover every Sunday. So this is what Eusebius and Constantine say. It says Pope Innocent I wrote, we celebrate Sunday because of the venerable resurrection, not only at Easter, but every Sunday. But where did this Easter Sunday originate? An encyclopedia or a dictionary such as the Oxford English Dictionary, right? I got to get that. Will supply answers. It says will supply the answer. Easter had a pre-Christian origin, namely a festival in honor of Estre. 1 second. The Teutonic goddess, also known as Eos, the Greek dawn goddess, and Usha or Ushas, the Hindu dawn goddess. This Estre was also known to be the spring goddess and the goddess of what? Fertility. Thus, another form of sun worship, another variant in the form of a dawn deity. Estre, also called Estre or Estra or Astera, was adopted or merged with Christianity. Why is that? It's because, let's look at a scripture. Let's turn to the book of Daniel. Let's turn to the book of Daniel. The book of Daniel, 7th chapter. The book of Daniel, the 7th chapter. Check it out. I don't too much like going live on Facebook because the screen be kind of blurry, right? Now check this out. This is the book of Daniel, the 7th chapter. I'm going to read verses 7 and 8 and verses 25. Then we're going to go to 2 Corinthians, the 11th chapter. Let's look at this. It says, after this, I saw in a nice vision, behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth, and it devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it says, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns, right? Now the 10 horns represent the 10 kingdoms that came out of, quote unquote, the Roman Empire. And see, that's talking about the modern day European common market system of today. But it wasn't always called the European common market system. It was the Vandals, the Visigoths, the Suviots, all these different nations that came out of the Roman Empire, right? Or what we would call the Caucasus Mountains and things of this nature, right? So let's look at something. Let's look at this. It says, I consider the horns, and behold, they came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first plucked up by the roots. Now, who was the first 3? That was the Chaldean Empire, what we would call the Babylonian Empire, the Medo-Persian, the Greeks, right? The Greek is the 3rd, and the 4th is Rome, right? So it says, I consider the horns, and behold, they came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn, which is the 4th one, were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things. And who was the eyes? That's the Pope, y'all. See, that's the Pope. It's because the Pope is the vicar or the vanguard of the religious systems of today. See, most of us don't really understand is we all have been deceived, brothers and sisters. We all have been deceived. Because a lot of this doctrine and a lot of this teaching is coming from who? The Roman Catholic Church, brothers and sisters. The Roman Catholic Church have distorted certain parts of the Old and the New Testament. That's why you have to pay attention to Paul's writings, to Peter's writings, even Yashua Hamasheeyahk. Is because why? It's because we're thinking a lot of times that they saying certain things, but no, brothers and sisters, it's the Roman Catholic Church who is saying this. See, they are the ones that translated our history out of the Greek into what you would call the Latin Vulgate and things of this nature. So when I'm telling brothers and sisters to do, when we talking about putting our thinking caps on, we have to learn how to comprehend what is being read. 25th verse. It says, and he shall speak great words against the Most High. How is he going to speak great words against the Most High? It's because he's going to come against the laws, statutes, and the commandments of the Creator, brothers and sisters. The world today doesn't recognize the Feast of Passover, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the Sabbath, the Feast of Weeks, the Feast of Booths. See? They don't acknowledge those the customs and traditions of the Creator. The Day of Atonement. They not dealing with that. What they dealing with? They dealing with Easter. They dealing with Christmas. They dealing with the so-called New Year, right? January the 1st. They dealing with Easter sunrise. Yashua being born of the virgin birth. This is what they dealing with. Yashua is the only begotten Son of the Father. This is what they teaching. So when it says, he shall speak great words against the Most High, meaning that what? He's going to be in direct conflict of the Creator. This is why you got the cross in the Bible. Do you understand that the cross goes back to paganism, brothers and sisters? This is why the world today is worshiping the Creator, the religious world, on Sunday. Because why? They are following Nimrod. This is why they doing this. Because that's who the Pope, this is who the Catholic Church is following. This is who the Christians are following. The Christian church are nothing but Catholics, brothers and sisters. The Jews that's over there in our land today are nothing but Catholics, brothers and sisters. Who else? The Muslims are nothing but Catholics. All of these people are in direct conflict against the Creator. But in this scripture, it's talking about who? It's talking about the Pope, see? Because you ain't finna be celebrating, the world don't acknowledge the Sabbath. The world don't acknowledge the Day of Atonement. They don't acknowledge those things. It's because when we're reading from the history, because Constantine and them did what? They changed the word of the Creator. So it says, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High. Who is the saints? That's the nation of Israel, the so-called Negro. How did he wear us out? It's because he put us in slavery. And he washed away the knowledge of self from our people. This is why you got a lot of our people, they in direct conflict against the Creator just as well, unknowingly. It's because, see, they thinking every time when it comes into April and stuff like that, that they're worshiping the Creator, but in actuality, they're worshiping the old Babylonian mystery system. So it says, and shall wear out the saints. And how did he wear out the saints? Through what? The transatlantic slave trade, brothers and sisters. That wore us out. It's because, see, we was not allowed to transmit history down to our kids. This is why our kids is broken today. And up under the Berlin Conference, who gave the modern day 10 toes the right to come over to Africa and grab us up and take us into slavery? It was the Pope. It says they think to change times and laws, like I said before. We're not worshiping the Creator today. That's why when we go into Acts the 12th chapter, you're going to see the word Easter there. Because they have changed times and laws. They shall be given into his hand until a time and the times and dividing the times. What does that mean? That means we have to fulfill what you would call the 70 weeks of Daniel, brothers and sisters, which is the rise and the fall of the Gentile world power system. Because, see, we're under captivity under the Gentiles. So let's look at another piece of history, because this is just the introduction stages of the life and times of Yashua Hamasheeyahk, right? In the wicked hands of the fourth beast. So let's look at something else, right? Let's look at this book. It's called The History of the First Council of Nice, right? A World Christian Convention, 325 AD. With a life of Constantine, right? So in page 6, let's look at some things. Page 6. One second, let me see what I'm going to read from first. I'm going to read right here. Page 6 in the introduction of the life and times of Constantine, right? It says, in regards to the canons and decrees, I think the best time for the Easter festival would have been the ancient honor day of the Jewish Passover, right? It says it was opposed merely by whim of Constantine, because as a Roman he hated the nation which his country had long detested and persecuted. It says, that is, the Jews, although he was forced to admit that God had ever preferred them before all other people. It says, his change in the day of rest arose from the same unjust prejudice. So that's in the book of Daniel 7:25. When it's talking about that they're going to change times and laws. So the book is saying that Constantine is the one that changed, that Constantine is the one that changed the Shabbat. See? It says the Sabbath was as good for Gentiles as it had been for Israel, although Christ did not regard it as holy. He never appointed another in its stead. Let's continue to read. It says, one of the canons forbid kneeling at prayers on Sunday. Dr. A.P. Stanley thinks this rule was adopted because the apostles used always to pray standing, but I suppose it was so ordered because Sunday was considered the day of triumph and rejoicing, not of humiliation. Because I'm going to show you in the New Testament that the Gentiles put in Sunday as the resurrection day, brothers and sisters. And see, let me tell you something. That's not 3 days and 3 nights. See, let's look at this. It says it was believed that that day Christ rose from the dead and conquered death and hell. Kneeling was a sign of submission to an enemy. Therefore, it was inappropriate for Sunday. So they are the ones that brought in Easter and quote-unquote Sunday. It says, to degrade manhood was deemed by some of the best way to exalt their religion. Such folly needed to be discouraged by a stronger condemnation. Constantine showed the greatest respect to the confessors and ascetics. He put his lips towards the scars received in persecution, and fastened he drew godliness from them. So Constantine is the one that changed the Shabbat, brothers. And see, that's the book of Daniel. See, that's the book of Daniel. But I want to find something else real quick, right? I want to find something else because a lot of this stuff I had written out. See, and a lot of that stuff. See, that's prophecy being fulfilled. Is because they're the ones that changed the Shabbat. That's not the nation of Israel. See, that's the book of Daniel. Let's look at something else. It says great dissensions had arisen in the church of Egypt about the nature of the Messiah and the time to celebrate Easter. See, they the ones that brought in Easter, by which Constantine was much troubled. He therefore ordered a convention to be held at Nicaea in Bithynia, to which bishops were invited from all parts of the world, hoping that harmony might result from the decision of such a universal assembly of the chief Christians of the world. Now let's look at something. Let's turn to the book of 2 Corinthians, the 11th chapter, right? Because even Paul was speaking about this. Let's look at this. The 11th chapter of the book of 2 Corinthians, I want to read verses 3 and 4, and I'm going to jot down to verses 13. It says, "But I fear lest by any means, as the serpent beguiled Eve through his subtlety," because how did he beguile her? It's because he introduced her to another way of life that was contrary to the Creator. So your mind should be corrupted from the simplicity that is in Hamasheeyahk. It says, "For if he that cometh preaching another Yashua," see, and the reason why I keep using the word Yashua is because why? It's because you can't translate the word Yashua, brothers and sisters, into Jesus, because that's the true Messiah. So when Paul says, "For if he that cometh preaching another Mashiach," what are they talking about? They're talking about the Messiah that we're worshiping today, the one that was born on December the 25th, the one that died on the cross, the one that was resurrected on the first day of the week. See, this is what Paul was speaking about, whom we have not preached. They never preached nothing like that. But we think that is because of the way that our history has been introduced to the world, brothers and sisters. He just told you in the book of Daniel, the 7th and 25th verse, that they was going to be doing what? They're going to be speaking great words against the Creator. Got us believing that Yeshua is the only begotten Son of the Father. See, all of that is paganism. For if he that cometh preaching another Yeshua whom we have not preached, or if ye receive another spirit which we have not received, or another gospel. See, if we're still talking about Christmas, Easter, Sunday worship, Jesus is God, the virgin birth, the immaculate conception, that's another gospel. Jesus, Yeshua, he was in the wilderness. No, he was with Adam in the 3rd chapter of the book of Genesis. That's another gospel, brothers and sisters. Yeshua coming out of the sky, riding down on the cloud. That's another gospel, which ye have not accepted, ye might well bear with him. Let's jot down 13. We're almost done. "For such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostle of Yashua Hamasheeyahk." That's what Constantine and them did. This is what the Christian movement has done. They are teaching another gospel that is contrary to the Creator. We can't see it because they smiling and beguiling. But in actuality, they are introducing the world to what? The beast and his mark, which is the customs and traditions of the Babylonian mystery system. It says, "And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light." So we're thinking that we're following the Creator, but in actuality, we following who? Lucifer, y'all. So this concludes part 1 of the introduction of the life and times of Yashua Hamasheeyahk and the wicked hands of the 4th beast. Next week, we're going to go in part 2. Shalom.